averaged over 100 catches a season. He had 3.5 years of Randy Moss, and we know what Randy Moss represents, first ballot Hall of Famer, and he's regarded as a top 1, top 2 receiver in all of football. Troy Brown early in his career. So to say that Tom Brady does not have weapons is just not true. Now, maybe he didn't have Gronk and Randy at the same time, but he did have Randy Moss. He did have Rob Gronkowski for a decade. He did have Wes Welker for 6 years, in which Wes Welker averaged over 100 catches, led the league in receiving probably 3 or 4 times. So to try to minimize what Patrick Mahomes is doing because we see these weapons that he has now is not fair. No great player. Joe Montana had Jerry Rice and John Taylor and Roger Craig. We didn't minimize him. Dan Marino, people don't look, but Mark Duper and Mark Clayton, the Marks brothers, were unbelievable. Most great quarterbacks had great receivers. Dan Fouts had John Jefferson, Wes Chandler, had Kellen Winslow. That's just the way it works. Skip, you understand that. It's hard for a running back to make the Hall of Fame, in which he doesn't have at least one offensive lineman to make the Hall of Fame. I mean, make the Hall of Fame without a lineman making the Hall of Fame. Skip, I get it. What it does is that when you talk only about Mahomes' receivers, you minimize what this guy's capable of doing. Now, there'll probably come a time that he won't have Tyreek, that he won't have Kelsey. But the really great ones, because when he lost Gronk for that 1 year, when he lost Wes Welker, when he did not have Randy Moss, Tom Brady still found a way to make it work. Even when Devontae leaves the lineup, Brady, Aaron Rodgers find ways to make it work. He'll find ways to make it work. Skip, don't minimize him by just saying it's the receivers. Yes, they help make his job easier. But these guys weren't what we thought of. How we look at them today, they weren't like that with check down Alex Smith. We know that.
I have no idea what you just said. I don't get it. Because
you're trying to minimize, you and others are trying to minimize what Mahomes is doing because he had Tyreek. You never said Brady benefited from Randy Moss. You've never said.
Oh, I have to.
Oh, so Gronk played a role in that, right?
Okay, my turn. Patrick Mahomes, for his first 3 years, has had an outrageous advantage over Tom Brady. Do you realize that Brady started for 19 seasons in New England? Do you realize that 9 times in 19 seasons, he had 0 Pro Bowl weapons? Zero of his weapons made the Pro Bowl. 9 times out of 19. So let's look back at Mahomes now. The Chiefs, before he took over, 2015, 2016, 2017, they went 11-5, 12-4, and 10-6 and made the playoffs all 3 years. And then just as Tyreek and Kelsey were coming of age, middle of their prime, he got to start with those 2. He also gets to benefit from the play calling of, most people say, the best offensive mind in football today is Andy Reid. Wouldn't you agree with that? Okay. So Tom Brady had to win in spite of a head coach who was all defense all the time. And his coordinators, as we know, were Charlie Weiss, Bill O'Brien. Josh McDaniels did 2 duties of service there as the offensive coordinator. But offense wasn't always the focus, because if Belichick woke up one morning and decided, you know what, we're just going to run the ball tonight or this afternoon, they just ran the ball. So a lot of times Brady was a prisoner of Belichick's game plan or his philosophy of the night or day, where we got to go this direction.
Well, Skip, I mean, you don't think Andy wants to run the football?
No. I mean, but in the end, Andy's going to throw the football.
Yeah, because they're
just going to throw it. That's who he is, what he does.
Skip, you make it seem like they took the ball out of Brady's hand and they ended up rushing for 40 yards. They were rushing for 200-plus yards.
If they thought they had the advantage.
Yes.
Okay, and Brady never whimpered about it. He never said a word about it.
He shouldn't, because he cared about winning.
Stat-wise, Mahomes is going to just zoom past him.
No, Skip.
Yeah, because when you look at what's about to happen on Sunday evening, Patrick Mahomes won't just have the best receiver on the field. He'll have the 2 best receivers on the field, because Tampa doesn't have a Tyreek, and Tampa, I'm sorry, they don't have a Travis Kelce, because nobody has a Travis Kelce, who is about to overtake, I think, Gronk as the GOAT tight end. He is on that arc,
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, he is basically uncoverable, and Gronk went so far yesterday as to say he's the best player on the team, and I think he meant other than Mahomes, but I agree with that. I mean, he scares me even more than Tyreek scares me, and Tyreek scares the hell out of me. But I don't know how you guard this man because he has such a wavelength, Kelsey does, with Patrick. When in doubt, they just run option routes in the middle of the field, and they have such rapport, such chemistry, such a bond that Patrick can trust that he's going to wiggle, go. And I don't know. Kelsey ran 4.63 at the combine, but he looks like in pads that he's running 4.4. Yeah. His quickness is in the 4.4 region because, as you know, he's got wiggle quickness that a big man just doesn't have.
He's more fluid than Gronk.
Yeah.
Gronk he's robotic.
He's Frankenstein.
Right.
I mean,
but once he gets ahead of steam,
I got it. And yet he got battered. He got beat up. He took too many shots.
Yes.
So we look back at what Brady's had over 19 seasons. He had 4 Pro Bowl, quote-unquote, weapons. Is Troy Brown really a weapon?
He went to the Pro Bowl, though.
I know. He went to the Pro Bowl in Brady's first year in 2001, Brady and Troy Brown. But I'm talking about, other than Brady, the offensive weapons, they had one lone Pro Bowler, and it was Troy Brown.
I was at that Pro Bowl with Brady.
All right. In 2001. Okay. Yeah. So, Troy Brown, were you impressed? I don't know. To me, he's just another guy. He was okay, but he could play both ways. He was so good, they would play him at cornerback, right? So, I don't know how great a wide receiver he really was. And then they did. They snatched up Randy Moss before the 07 season because he had quit on the Raiders, and all of a sudden, records fell like the snow in Foxborough, and so did opponents. And they got all the way, as we know, to 18-0. But it was really just that one year because Brady got hurt the next year, and then Moss sort of flamed out and fizzled out on schedule in New England, and pretty soon he was gone.
Well, when he played, Moss still put up big numbers even with Castle. It was that, I think it was that third year, Skip, that he started
to come apart, and there was a Monday night game at Miami where it looked like he was quitting on New England, and the next day he was gone.
And they shipped him back to Minnesota, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, and then in 09, Wes Welker did emerge. But are we saying Wes Welker is Tyreek Hill?
No, Skip. But I'm just saying, Skip, he did go to 5 Pro Bowls in 6 seasons.
I think he went to, I got 4, but whatever. Okay. I got maybe 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay. Only 2 years in Brady's 19 as starter, 11 and 12, did he have 2 Pro Bowl receivers, if we're going to call Gronk a receiver, okay? They were both Pro Bowlers in 11 and 12.
Right.
Then in 13, he had none. Gronk alone in 14 and 15, none in 16. Gronk alone in 17, none in 18. And we know what happened in 19. They were at the bottom of the barrel in what's called, by Pro Football Focus, separation. He had nobody to throw to, and even you agree with that.
Right. But here's the thing, Skip. When you look at what Tom Brady's played with, Coach Belichick, I give Tom credit. Tom Brady has done... He made some great sandwiches with not a whole lot of ingredients. Basically just gave him some bread and a whole bunch of stuff that was in the refrigerator that not supposed to go, and Tom made it delicious. But Coach Belichick, now, Ty Law's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Do we believe Darrelle Revis will be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Now, Richard Seymour is up on the ballot this year. This will be, if I'm not mistaken, maybe his 3rd or 4th time. He's going to go in. So that's 3 right there. Yep. Jamie Collins has been to the Pro Bowl. Malcolm Butler was in the Pro Bowl. Willie McGinnis went to the Pro Bowl. So Stephon Gilmore, was he any good? So while you keep saying they didn't have anything offensively, where's the firepower like this defensively that's on the Chiefs right now? Okay,
I got it. But when you look at stat projections, Mahomes is going to just blow past Brady because it's what they do. Yeah,
Skip, the game is a lot more wide open. But, Skip, I don't even really want to have this discussion until Patrick Mahomes get to year 15. Because you see what happens, Skip? Now, they get a big lead.
A long way from now.
Exactly. But what did they do, Skip? They had the division clinched, so what did they do? They rested. So that's 300 yards that maybe he doesn't get. That's a touchdown or between 1 and 3 touchdowns that he doesn't get. Plus, what have we seen? Early in his career, he got a knee injury and he had to sit 2 games.
He did?
Tom Brady, so, Skip, it's so far away.
Look what Patrick's already doing, though. This is his first 3 years of starting.
Oh, it's not even close.
He's averaging 307 passing yards a game. That's great.
Yes.
Brady's over the last, well, I guess this is for his whole career. It's 263.
Right.
Okay. That's who he is. That's how they win games. Right. That's how they won for 19 years. He's a 250-yard passer.
But here's the thing, though, Skip. Brady was not as advanced at passing at the early age like Mahomes. So to ask him to try to be Tom Brady today, back then, wasn't going to be fair. And Coach Belichick knew that was a recipe for us getting beat, to ask him to throw the ball for. Bruce Arians would have no problem if Tom Brady were to throw the ball 50 times on Sunday. Now, it might not be good because that means you don't have a running game and they're just going to tee up on you. But he would feel comfortable with that. Coach Belichick, in his first 3 to 5 years,
No way.
weren't going to feel comfortable with that.
Okay. Would Andy Reid be comfortable if they threw it 50 times?
Hell, he
Sure
threw it
they would.
53 in November. I mean, whenever they played. Was it November, I think?
November
12th?
29th.
Was it 29th?
Yeah, it's at the end of November.
But
yeah.
he threw 53 times then. So clearly, Andy would have no problem with him throwing the ball that.
Okay, so
Not February 1st. So that's the Skip. That's the thing is that people think, okay, and you pay a lot of money. I've sat in those seats on the resale market. But even if you're a season ticket holder, Skip, those seats cost a lot of money. Not like the Lakers.